Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith, your number one hot spot for all things NFL. Man, we got an action-packed episode here today. Before I go forward with the episode, big shout out to my co-host, Mr. Mike Williams. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic, bro. Overall, slightly sad, but I'm doing okay.
Hey, we're gonna get into that sadness and what it's about. and then also as well, man, shout out to Adrian Campbell. He's gonna be stopping here in a few minutes, so y'all just bear with him a minute. And then Isaac may be popping in here saying hi here in a bit as well too. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and kick it off with the dopest intro you have ever heard in your life. Here we go. And when we come back, we're gonna cover all the scores, predictions for tonight's Monday night game. We got about good 5, 6, 7 narratives we're gonna roll it tonight. We're gonna talk about it. Here we go.
Touchdown with Doug Smith, celebrate, that's a new move. Heinzman, 2 views, catch him on YouTube. NFL coverage, interviews, who lose, who win, who lose. Comedy, you choose, it's not about moolah. The QB's like Tua is missing in action. No L's on my shooler. Play it like Marino, it's a gamble like casino. Hungry for it, but you know we still gon' try to feed the beef. Rivalries will lead the conference. Cowboys of the Eagles, will Belichick be a threat? Better check. Tomlin on deck, much respect to the vet. What to expect? Gotta tune in for the rest. Make sure to sub, like, check. At the best, bad boy, the sports podcast. For the threat across the north, east, south, in the west. Sitting back clueless, time to tune in. Now another sports center, it's a movement.
That's right, folks. Not another sports center, it's a movement. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. To all our international listeners, all our listeners all throughout the country, all throughout the world, man, we appreciate y'all, man. Every day, Adrian, Mike, Isaac, and myself, man, every week we come together, man, for the most part, and to give y'all some dope NFL news, man. So it's not ESPN. We come with no narratives, man, just raw, uncut. You're going to get it every single time. So, Mike, man, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm overall pretty good, bro. My feelings are hurt a little bit. We'll get into that, but it was a good football weekend overall, very competitive.
Dude, it was nuts. The Jets, what the heck? That's why I tell people, man. We gonna cover the Jets in a sec, but who the heck is was it Frank White? I think his name was
Mike White.
Mike White. Man,
yeah, they're calling him Mike. They're calling him Mike the Great White White. You know what I'm saying? So.
I love it, man. Y'all know me. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, but I give respect where respect is due. That dude balled out. Could it be a one-time fluke? Sure, but I don't know, man. That was something of Hollywood movies, man. That was beautiful right there. But before we get too much into that, let's talk about tonight's game, Mike. We got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're looking to rebound. They start off at a very ugly 3-4. Facing off against the Giants, who had a big win last week against the Carolina Panthers. They're coming in this game 2-5. What score? Who do you got? Talk to me.
So I got the Chiefs winning this game. I think the Giants might cover the spread, though. So the Chiefs are 10-point favorites. I don't think they're going to win by 10 points because the Giants defense, even missing Blake Martinez, is pretty stout still. So they're missing a lot of pieces on offense, though. I think this will be like a 2012 game. It's probably going to be cold. So I'm thinking like 2012 Chiefs.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I got Chiefs definitely winning this one. I got them winning 27-21. Chiefs with the dub. But I think it's going to be competitive, and that secondary for the Chiefs is so weak, man. They're, Mike Tyson once famously said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So, yeah, that's what's been happening to the Chiefs a lot. So, a lot of people had them going undefeated. Not me. I did say that we're going to lose about 4 games. So, maybe they win out, maybe they don't. But the NFL became that much more of a dangerous place for teams like the Chiefs, man, who, people want that number 1 spot, or in this case, number 2 spot. But anywho, next game, we had the Chicago Bears. They took and they fell, but it was very competitive, 22-33. They fell to the San Francisco 49ers. Then, of course, we have the Jets that we were just talking about. They pulled it out 34-31, beating the Bengals. Bengals fall to 5-3. Jets taking rise to the occasion and come to a 2-5 record. Looking really good. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They took in, they lost. Did you watch that game, Mike?
Absolutely, man.
Dude, that was Jameis goes down. Trevor Simeon. We're going to talk about Trevor Simeon later in the show. I just want to cover these scores real quickly, but Tom Brady throws a pick six to end the game. I mean, that was nuts.
I don't know what the Saints have, but like they are in Tom Brady's head. Like they were showing it today. That's the only team he has a losing record against since he's been down there. And they definitely, I think he's beat them one time, and that was in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think he's hanging out with Sam Darnold, man. He might be seeing ghosts, man. It's gonna be real interesting for the Buccaneers. But Buccaneers is still a squad, and the Saints got a dope squad. I'm just curious. I mean, real quick predictions. Who do you think is gonna win this division, man?
I think it's the Bucs still, especially with Jameis going down. I got the Bucs.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. They're gonna have Buccaneers, they have their issues, on the secondary when it comes to defensive side of the ball. But I think overall, man, they've overcame so much as a team. They were able to hold so much of that unit together. I mean, for crying out loud, they were 7-5 at one point last season. So not looking good, maybe even a threat of maybe missing the playoffs. So they know how to get their stuff together, and they're a team with character. I think they're going to come through. I really do. But it's going to be competitive for sure. Then we got the Dallas Cowboys. Lord have mercy. They won 20-16. I had the Vikings winning this one, man. I had the Vikings winning this one by at least a touchdown, man. But Mike, you watch this one?
Yeah, man. I'll give the Cowboys props. I hate doing it. It's making me sick every time I have to do it. But they found a way to overcome Dak being out, and they're really looking like a competitive team. They're looking like the video we put out last week. Go check that video out. But they're really making that video we put up there look not crazy,
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, shout out to This Just In Sports, man. Those are my homies over there. I was on the show a couple months ago. If y'all see them in the comment section, y'all make sure to go drop them a subscribe, man. Those are the homies right there, big time. Next game, okay, I'll touch on this. Miami Dolphins, man, they lost 11-26. Hot dang it. They have put up more points in the last 3 times they played the Buffalo Bills. But it was competitive. Halftime, it was 3-3. But just mental mistakes, man. That fumble, Tua had an interception, Tua played decent, but just bad play calling, man. The Bills were so beatable, and then they're cocky. Josh Allen's out there laughing, like a little girl, man. It just pissed me off, man. I hate to see my Dolphins like this, man. Like, I just look up to the heavens. It's like, God, why, God?
The thing that was interesting in that game, bro, is there was only 2 sacks, like total. Like the Bills only got to Tua twice. The Dolphins have kind of struggled with their pass rush, but they didn't even get to Josh Allen. But the fact that there was only 2 sacks this game, I've been harping on y'all line for a while, but I'll give y'all some props because they have a ferocious pass rush, and to only let up 2 sacks is an accomplishment in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I like. I'm not gonna lie. At times, I'm like, get Deshaun Watson, just out of anger. I'll admit it. But I think Tua's the guy for the job. I really do. I think Chris Greer's trying to save his job because he realized who the heck has that many draft picks and blows it. It's just. And here's the thing, man. Before this season, Chris Greer was a media darling. He was a media darling. People are like, oh, he has done a wonderful job. Oh my, but. I look even as a Miami Dolphins fan, I look at even at my own biases, right? And that like, okay, well, I never liked the 2 coordinators idea. And I knew we had a little bit more depth at O-line, hence we're able to make a few changes, but not a lot. I knew that might come back to get us. Not even the running game as much, but yeah, Myles Gaskin, 3rd and 2, they hand him the ball. You touch him and he just falls down, man. There's no yards after contact with him, right? Then there's Tua. He hasn't even finished the full rookie year yet. Hasn't had a full rookie year yet. So yeah, man. I mean, it's really interesting, man. But overall, man. I'm just I'm optimistic for the Dolphins in the future. Not this season. They are not going to the playoffs, my friend. We lost to the Jaguars, man. So enough said. Next game, Campbell continues to stink it up as head coach for the Lions, though I believe he is a good coach. But man, 44-6 with the Eagles, man. What the heck, man? Mike, you watch that one?
Yeah, they made me look like a clown. I really believe they were being. I was just talking about how competitive they've been.
Week, right?
Yeah, we talked about they're competitive. I picked them to upset the Eagles, and the Philadelphia Siriannis put a whooping on them, and them roots that he was talking about just sprouted all over the Lions, and they beat them by 38 points. Man, I don't care what level you play at, a 38-point loss is ridiculous, right? And the fact that they're in the NFL, like the fact that they game plan, they studied film for an entire week, and they lost by 38 points. They got to do something there.
Yeah, they got to get this stuff together. Again, probably the most. I would say they are the worst team in the NFL, outside the Jaguars, outside the Dolphins, and a few other squads, because they just lack talent, man. They lack talent. So they have all these good coaches, man, but it's dang, man, it's it's rough. It's really, really rough, man. I mean, a few bounces of the ball, like my brother Isaac said last week, and they have 2 or 3 wins this year so far, you know. But yeah, they got to get their stuff together, man. Hopefully they could get a few dubs, man, because Lions fans are some of the best in the entire country, man. Out of any sport, man, they're awesome, man. Then you were at this. I know our brother Isaac was at this game. Were you at the game in person? The Broncos.
Nah, man. I watched the game, of course. I don't really miss games, but the Broncos, the Washington football team, that game was more stressful than it needed to be, especially the end of the game, right? So the teams definitely battled it out. Hinkie really blew some opportunities, man. He threw the ball almost 40 times. He got sacked 5 times. Their defense was giving them a chance, right? Our defense was giving us a chance. It was a really defensive struggle type game, and I like games like that. Yeah. But we almost gave the game away, Doug. I don't know if you saw the last minute of the game. Fans were talking about, well, the play calling. I get it. Our play calling this year has been bad, but it's first and 10 with 27 seconds left. They have 3 timeouts. We run the ball with Javonte Williams. He fumbles it. We get the ball back, right? Yeah. They do a pass play with Teddy Bridgewater, which people are thinking that a pass play that's terrible. The thing was for him to get the ball to where it needed to be or to get down. And you saw as soon as Teddy Bridgewater let the ball go and it's incomplete, he was like, oh, crap, I was supposed to run. So that was just bad execution. The first play is bad execution. And then Melvin Gordon, who we all know I have not been a fan of since he's been a Bronco, especially with him coming from the Chargers, had his 19th career fumble on that 3rd down, which the Washington football team recovered. Luckily, our defense came up big and we pulled it out by 7 points, but we almost gave that game away. And shout out to Terry McLaurin, 2 catches, 23 yards, or 3 catches, 23 yards. And, you know, Cortland Sutton head-to-head had 2 catches for 40 yards, so I think he had the better game.
Yeah, man, he definitely did. I know our other co-host and my brother Isaac, he was at the game. He said Washington football team fans that they showed out. They were there. They were deep in the stadium, man, showing love, man. But yeah, that was. I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, I mean, I feel like there's some old 90-year-old man who has bad bowel movements who like pooped his diaper in like Aurora or like Colorado Springs. He watched that game and he had a few turds in his underwear. Probably it was terrible. Nail biter for sure. All right. Then of course, So that game took it happen. Then we had the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-7. Geno Smith. You know, hey, definitely looking forward to seeing more of him. Not saying he's the franchise quarterback or anything like that, but definitely good to have them come out with the dub. And then also as well, we got the Carolina Panthers. They pulled out the dub at 19-13. Close game. 2 bad teams. You know, if you ever seen what's that show? South Park, the cripple fight. You know, it's like giving two people in a wheelchair. They can't throw full punches or kicks. So you just hand them 2 butter knives and saying kill each other. That was the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons, but we ain't gonna spend too much time on that one, man. Then we got the Patriots, man. Very competitive game. They pulled off the dub 27-24 over the Los Angeles Chargers. And yeah, what a game. Then we have the Rams 38-22 versus the Texans. Definitely the Texans were trying to come back in that game. Seems like they got a little comfortable, but overall, man, Rams are a fantastic team, man. They continue to wow us week after week, man.
Absolutely.
It's not always perfect with the Rams, but they're a Super Bowl caliber team, and you have to have them in the conversation, man. You know.
And shout out to Cooper Kupp, because me and my brother Soup was talking yesterday about it, but he is on track right now to break the single season receiving record yards. You know, being on track doesn't mean it'll happen, but he's absolutely balling out for a 3rd round draft pick. So definitely shout out to that man, and Sean McVay is getting him open and he is making plays. So definitely shout out to Cooper Kupp.
Absolutely, man. And then just Man, they're a fun team, man. I really like the Rams a lot, man. I really, really, really do, man. They have depth. They're fun. They're exciting. They're in that beautiful stadium over there in SoFi, and we may have them more and more Super Bowl conversations here very, very soon. Then we had a real stinker, a real boring game. Two teams that I thought were going to play really, really good. And two teams that we could possibly see in some type of AFC championship or something like that, or some divisional AFC game. But the Steelers, the stinky Steelers, the dirty, stinky Steelers versus the stinkier Browns. Steelers took and won this one 15-10. Congrats to the Steelers, I guess. Roethlisberger, it's I don't know how much to say about that one.
Najee Harris is getting the ball rolling though, man. So it looks like he's kind of found his groove, which is a good thing for them. But that game was it was a snooze fest, man.
Yeah, no, not fun at all to watch whatsoever. Then we have the Titans versus the Colts, 34-31. Titans pulled off the dub, but Mr. Derrick Henry is out for the season. Now we got a narrative, so another game or two that we're going to talk about, but then we got our narrative. So we're going to cover the Derrick Henry situation and what his loss ultimately means to the Titans. And then, of course, we got the last game we're going to talk about here, 24-21. Shout out to the 72 Dolphins. The Green Bay Packers dethrone the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. Did you watch that game?
Yeah, that game was electric, man. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers can consistently make plays when he's down playmakers. I think he's 7-0 now without Devontae Adams. Not saying they're better without Devontae Adams. I mean, they were down Devontae Adams. They were down their defensive coordinator. They were down another receiver. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but they still found a way to win. Aaron Rodgers he didn't have like a crazy game, but he managed the game well. He put them in position to win. And their defense, people aren't talking about too much, but their defense is absolutely playing better and better. They contained Kyler, got 2 interceptions. They sacked him twice, and they only gave up like 74 rushing yards. So their defense definitely carried them that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to take and talk about an injury that took and happened on Sunday. We want to take and kick it off with the New Orleans Saints, one of my favorite teams to talk about in the entire league. They had a really bad injury with Jameis Winston. It's looking like he is out for the season. He's out. He's not coming back. Jameis Winston, Mike, let's talk about this, man. With Jameis Winston gone, do the Saints have a chance of making the playoffs?
Yes, I know it might sound weird, and Sean Payton, I was just like, well, what can he do with Jameis? We'll see what happens. Quietly, Jameis was having a good season. His turnover ratio was like 3-1 or something like that, which has never happened his entire career. And they have Trevor Simeon, right, former Bronco. He's a decent stopgap quarterback. And I believe that Sean Payton knows how to help players will them to win the games, know your job. Trevor Simeon's a good backup. Now, I don't think they're going to be winning playoff games, but I absolutely believe with how competitive the bottom of the NFC is, they will be in position for a wild card. They only probably need to win 4 more games, and they'll get a wild card berth. And I think Trevor Simeon, with Michael Thomas supposed to be coming back in a few weeks, could potentially, get them to at least a wild card berth, 6-7 seed. But they have a chance to get to the playoffs at your competitive Super Bowl or competitive playoff hopeful. That's out the window with Winston gone though.
Yeah. Any chance that they look at Cam, especially now that he's vaccinated and he says he wants to play?
They should.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, man, with one thing I love about the Saints, man, they're one of the best coached teams in the entire NFL. One of the best coached teams, one of the best teams at finding talent. I mean, I feel like it's just about every single year with the Saints, man. They have some player that we've never heard of before, somebody who fell 3rd, 4th round, ended up being a Pro Bowler. I love the Saints. They're such a great team, and Sean Payton's doing a fantastic job. The transition moving over from Drew Brees to Jameis Winston, it's a real stinker, but this guy, Trevor Simeon. Now, Mike, you're a Broncos fan. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Trevor Simeon, and what does he bring? We talk about them being able to observe talent. They have Trevor Simeon on this roster. What does Trevor Simeon do for that offense?
He's going to keep it afloat, most definitely. Like, he's not going to really lose you a game. He's not going to win you a game per se, but he's not going to make a bunch of mistakes typically that are going to put you in a position where you're going to lose a game. And if he can just kind of get them on the board, allow their defense to be all right, I think he'll be a guy that can put up points with Sean Payton's knowledge. That's by far the best head coach he's played with since he's been in the NFL, obviously. So I think he's a guy that can make a lot of short mid-range throws. He doesn't have like a cannon like Jameis where he can throw these deep balls, but he's a very accurate quarterback, and he gets the ball out pretty quickly where it needs to be. So I think him keeping you afloat is going to be okay. Again, he's not a guy that you're going to say, oh my gosh, Trevor Simeon's a free agent, that's our number one target by any means. But I think he's a top 25 backup in the league. You know what I'm saying? He's a top quarter of the league as far as backups go, where he can definitely step in and get you a few games. So again, I think this is going to take them out of a position where they can maybe challenge for the division with how they were playing. I don't think they'll be able to do that anymore, but I think they'll, be in position for that 6-7 seed in the wild card most definitely because he's a smart player.
Yeah. And I mean, they did just go and get Mark Ingram back in the fold, and that Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara duel, we seen what that happened when Kamara came into the league, right? And having those two back together. Now, obviously, Ingram isn't the same player that he was when he left the Saints, but to say that he's like washed is not the truth either. And I think he'll provide a good 1-2 punch and kind of give Kamara, some breathing space, because the load on the running back room is going to be a lot heavier now that that you're going to a Trevor Simeon for your quarterback. Because like Mike said, he's not going to stretch the field and he's not going to win you a game. He's not necessarily going to lose you a game either. And I don't think Sean Payton minds that, right? Because we can't pretend that they haven't pared down that playbook and condense their actual passing attack in the last few seasons with Drew Brees. It wasn't like they were really stretching the field. Jameis Winston gave them that ability this year, and even then we weren't seeing that too much. So I think you're playing into a space that Sean Payton is very familiar with, very comfortable. If you have a quarterback that is accurate and can make the throws, you got Michael Thomas coming back. The defense is not, their defense isn't any slouch. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're like top 3 in the league, but they have a very solid defense. They got a solid offensive line. They have pieces that they're gonna knock somebody off that deserves to be there more than they do, and cause problems. At the end of the season for somebody, they're gonna upset somebody. Obviously, I don't believe that this is a championship caliber team or can compete for a championship right now with no quarterback essentially. But I still, with the coaching and the rest of the players that are on their roster, I still expect them to push and compete.
Love it. Now the next team, as far as competing, we're just gonna jump right into it. Tennessee Titans, man, their workhorse back. Let's just say he's the best running back in the entire National Football League. Derrick Henry, King Derrick Henry. Now they have a lot of really good players on that team. They're a team to keep your eye on, a team that could surprise you, a team that can beat some of the best teams in the entire National Football team, the Tennessee Titans. Now before this injury, they have shocked me multiple games. The Buffalo game. I mean, there's Kansas City game. I mean, they're a team that's war tested. They have veterans there. They have a quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who has very low turnovers. Can the Titans stay afloat? Let's just, when we say stay afloat, do they have a chance of now making the playoffs? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think they can. I think they're still going to continue to control this division because Ryan Tannehill, I think, is the class. He's the class of the quarterbacks in this division, minus Deshaun Watson, right? Who doesn't count because he's not playing. So I still think that he's the better quarterback in this division of the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence is still too young, right? And I think he's better than Wentz, who we saw yesterday made some absolutely ridiculous decisions at the quarterback position. I still think that this is the team to beat in the AFC South. Even though they're down Derrick Henry, they did just go ahead and sign Adrian Peterson today. They signed him to his practice squad with the expectation that he's going to be elevated to the 53-man as well. And Adrian Peterson, he's not, AP of old, but he is still a serviceable back. He's going to help provide some stability, and he's going to help provide some balance for that team. And, Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, no slouches either. They're definitely going to have to step up. And really, it's going to fall back onto this defense, right? This defense, even though they've been playing well, they're going to have to continue to play well down the stretch because Derrick Henry accounted for 79% of their rushing yards. So that's going to be hard to replace with anybody.
Yeah.
And I agree largely. I think just looking at their schedule, they got the Texans twice. They got the Dolphins once. No offense to the Dolphins. Jaguars. I think those are all games, even without Derrick Henry, they could win. And those 4 games would be enough to win the division. They have a couple tough games that I think the Rams game I was looking forward to seeing this coming Thursday with Derrick Henry. Without Derrick Henry and with the acquisitions that the Rams are making, I don't think that's going to be as competitive anymore. But signing Adrian Peterson, that dude has, his history has been being a workhorse. I think they'll absolutely win the division. I think they're 3 games up on the second place team right now. That's probably the absolute worst division of football outside of them. But I think they'll stay afloat. And AJ Brown, they're gonna have to lean on more. They got Julio, if he can kind of get stuff cranking towards the end of the season once his knees, he's like the old cars. He had to warm up the engine with the crank and stuff like that. Doug, he's like getting his knees going like that. So if he gets to the point where he can make a few plays, I think they'll win this division. Now, how competitive they'll be in the playoffs, that's a whole nother story. Yeah. But I think having Adrian Peterson within a few weeks, that's another back that, if you think about it, if you're comparing Derrick Henry to a back historically, a lot of those comparisons were Adrian Peterson, right? Obviously, This is a prime all day, but at the same time, I think he can make enough plays and run that offense enough to where they're not going to miss a huge beat. But again, Derrick Henry's touch to replace, that was my MVP pick, and I think he was on pace to break the single season rushing record. So that's going to obviously be bad to replace. But if you look at yesterday's game, they didn't run the ball very well, right? Which is like, and eventually that's the team that the fourth quarter comes, I'll punch you in the face. But they gave the ball to Derrick Henry 28 times. He only had 68 rushing yards. And obviously, he injured his foot on the last play that he was there. But I believe they'll be okay. So Titans fans, y'all stay afloat. I think they were talking about potentially Derrick Henry could come back and playoffs, second round of the playoffs. I think they should just let him sit out the rest of this year because it is a foot fracture. He's a humongous back. He's bigger than a lot of linemen and linebackers are. So I think just let that man rest this year and kind of reboot for next year. But they'll absolutely win the division because they have a phenomenal coach in Mike Vrabel, and their offense does what it needs to do to other teams' defenses.
Absolutely. And looking at who they have backup, obviously mentioned Adrian Peterson, so he's going to need probably a week or two to take in, get some water behind his ears.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look. They have Jeremy McNichols and Darrington Evans. Darrington Evans, he's a playmaker, man. But hey, they're gonna be real interesting to watch. And then also I want to bring up the point is that I don't know if you remember 2 years ago, the Titans made it all the way to the AFC Championship. Shocked the world.
Yep.
And if my memory serves me correct, that was Ryan Tannehill's first year with that team. But it seems that they became one-dimensional, and the Kansas City Chiefs were super beatable that AFC Championship. They made a lot of mistakes, but it was just Derrick Henry. They just became one-dimensional. That was their game plan. And they didn't have the best wide receiver core, but it would have been nice to see the coaching staff actually trust Ryan Tannehill. My question is now, do they trust Ryan Tannehill to lead this team? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they don't have a choice at this point, right? Because he's shown that he can make plays. He has weapons to get the ball to. So there's no way they're going to run Adrian Peterson and McNichols the way they were running Derrick Henry and win games because they're not Derrick Henry, right? I think that's if they do that, their offensive coordinator needs to get out of there, right? But I think they're going to have to rely on Ryan Tannehill. He is an athletic quarterback. He used to be a receiver, obviously, in college for a while. So I feel like rely on his athleticism and smart playmaking. And in addition to that, man, like use their run game to set up the play action pass. They have fast receivers that people really can't cover. So I think they're in a position, man, where if they do lean on Ryan Tannehill, let him earn his money, right? Like you guys paid this man, let him earn his money, right? Obviously, Derrick Henry was their best weapon, but he's not there. And like Soup said, they have the best quarterback in the division that's actively playing. Watson would be the best if he was playing, but he's not. So I think they have to rely on him, or you shouldn't have wrote the check. Like you can't write a check to somebody you don't think can win you some games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to say this, man. If they could dig deep in their playbook, if they can diversify their play calling to just Derrick Henry. If it wasn't for Derrick Henry, would we even be talking about Mike Vrabel calling him a good coach? You know what I mean? Like, so my whole, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I don't want to say that, but I do want to take and say, like, what are they going to do as far as offense? Are they going to throw the ball, 35, 40 times? Are they going to mix it up, and do some screen passes? It's just going to be very interesting. But overall, regardless of what the Titans do, I trust Ryan Tannehill. As a Miami fan, I followed Ryan for years, even when he was running for his life, man. And he got better, even with the piss poor circumstances down there on South Beach playing for the Miami Dolphins. He got better week after week, week after week, year after year after year overall. And you didn't see it in the micro, but you saw it in the macro. You know what I mean? So all in all, man, I think Titans are going to be just fine. I think they could still ultimately win, 11 games win the division. I say, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the division. I just think that in terms of them competing for a championship this year, that's out the window with Derrick Henry. I don't think that they're a better team than the Bills without Derrick Henry. And you look at, there's at least, I want to say minimum 2 to 3 games. One that sticks out to me is the Seattle Seahawks games. Like, they don't win that game without Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has single-handedly put the team on his back. And that's not to say that Ryan Tannehill hasn't been playing good, but they just weren't able to move the ball. And Derrick Henry was forcing these other teams to tackle and wrap up. And he was, averaging 130, 140 yards a game. Like, that's, you can't replace that kind of production.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, today, I'll say October, years flying by so quick. Today, November 1st, 2021, nothing but fireworks. We had a crazy trade. Let's just jump right into it. Von Miller is now a Los Angeles Ram. Now, just so happens, two of my co-hosts, Mike, you're a fellow Denver Broncos fan, and Mr. Adrian, you are a fellow Los Angeles Rams fan. Let's open up the floor. But as the question says,
Mike, take it first.
Well, I'm going to save the monologue. You want to do this one first?
Yeah. We'll jump in this. We'll switch up. All right. So Here we go. How does the Von Miller trade benefit the Denver Broncos?
I'm going to go on my monologue, right? So obviously, as a fan who got a closet full of Von Miller jerseys, y'all have seen me wear them on here, and they are fire, right? I was absolutely pissed off, right? But I understand the business behind it. Von Miller has a great relationship with the city. Von Miller is on par, if not more beloved in Denver than Peyton Manning was at his time here. One of the most, it was like John Elway and then Von Miller and Broncos history, really, as far as the most beloved players. That's not an opinion. That's like a fact here. He did a bunch of stuff in the community. He showed up to a bunch of different parties, had a bunch of things, and he was an absolute legend on the field, right? So the reason this trade happened the way it did was because, for one, Von wasn't going to re-sign. There's reports coming out today that he was not going to re-sign at the end of this year. This was the last year in his contract. He wanted to be in a position to compete. And I want to give a tip the cap to George Payton for saying, hey, I know you want to compete. I'm going to send you to the Rams. And how it does benefit the Broncos is we're, as opposed to us getting a third round comp pick potentially, we got a second and a third round pick from the Rams. It's obviously going to be a very late pick. But there's no way we were going to re-sign Von from all the reports. He says he wants to play for a few more years. He wants to be competitive. So I think the Broncos said, hey, let's send you to a competitive team. He woke up today on a 7-1 team as opposed to a 4-4 team, and a team that is now favored to win the Super Bowl. So we got two picks back. And for Broncos fans watching this video, just think about this, right? Javonte Williams, second-round pick, right? Dalton Reisner, second-round pick. Right, we got Cortland Sutton, who is a second-round pick, right? So we've done some stuff with some of those picks that have benefited our team and kind of set some of the foundation that we have. Kush was a third-round pick, our starting center. So we've kind of Draymond Jones, right, as a third-round pick. So we have a bunch of starters from our second and third rounds. The Rams don't value draft picks as much as the Broncos would, and we'll just use those to add, at least a few more starters. But between their second-round pick, our second or third round picks, and the first round picks we have, I think we did two things. We can either A, load up on young players, or B, be in a position to trade for a quarterback, right? There's a bunch of quarterbacks that people are talking about out there. So it gives us some flexibility as far as that stuff goes, because realistically, we're fighting for our lives to make the playoffs this year. We definitely weren't going to be competing for a Super Bowl, but I think it benefits us tremendously by giving us some assets for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next question here from a Mr. Rams fan, Mr. Adrian Campbell. Here it is. Does Von Miller complete the Los Angeles Rams? Take it away.
Complete the Rams? No, he doesn't complete the Rams. Does he definitely add to them? 100%, right? He's going to provide something off the edge that we didn't really have outside of Leonard Floyd. And you think about this, right? You have Aaron Donald who's eating 2 to 3 blocks per play, per snap, right? You saw what Leonard Floyd was able to do this weekend against the Texans. Now, granted, it's the Texans and stuff like that, but we've seen Leonard Floyd get off earlier this year, right? And he's currently leading the team in sacks, I think, at 6.5, right? So he's having a pretty good season. He also set career highs for himself last year playing alongside Aaron Donald. There's another player that I don't think you guys remember because he's kind of faded into anonymity ever since he left Los Angeles, but his name is Dante Fowler, who put up career stats for himself and got a paycheck out of playing next to Aaron Donald. Now, you think about you putting Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller. Mm-hmm. You cannot block all 3 of those guys. No. You have trouble blocking one of them by yourself. You've got Jalen Ramsey on the back end, and, we've got Robert Rochelle out there that's developing. Dante Dion made a great interception that got called back for some crazy stuff. I think we do have some players with Taylor Rapp, Jordan Fuller, Terrell Burgess back there. And Ernest Jones made a heck of a debut. If that's any indication of how he's going to play moving forward, I think the Rams are moving in the right direction. I think what would complete the Rams, right, is we do need a bookend cornerback for Jalen. I think that is the missing piece for the Rams. I think we have this pass rush, which is another piece, but I think another piece is like if we could go get somebody like a Darius Slay, right? Mm-hmm. I think Darius Slay playing opposite Jalen would be just a nightmare for these teams because you're going to have this very aggressive pass rush that is not going to allow these receivers to get down the field and have plays develop. And then even then, you're going to have, Jalen that's roaming the field, Darius Slay that's roaming the field, and some pretty good safeties back there that are covering. It's really going to frustrate quarterbacks. But is this absolutely pushing them towards being more of a Super Bowl contender this year? Yes. And as a Rams fan, I love it. I don't think I've ever been happier to live in Broncos country than I am today. Because I'm just thriving off the misery of a lot of fans like my brother Mike here. I know he's sad. He called me as soon as it went down, and man, I was eating it up like good food. I haven't even eaten a meal. I haven't eaten breakfast. I haven't eaten lunch today because I've been so full from this transaction, man. Like Les Snead and the Rams continue to be very shrewd operators. And Mike and I kind of talked about this offline, right? The Rams are doing business very, very unconventionally. Right. And you saw it in our kind of text message thread, everybody's been saying for the longest time, and I remember it from the time that we drafted Jared Goff, we went and gave up the 2 first-round picks to move up and get Jared Goff. They're like, oh, well, this is going to come back to bite the Rams in the butt. They're not going to have cap. They're not going to have a future. This is, their window is going to be very, very small, right? So let's just kind of go through that. We traded first-round picks to draft Jared Goff. Then we paid Todd Gurley. Then we decided we don't need Todd Gurley. We paid Brandon Cooks. Decided we don't need Brandon Cooks. Got rid of both of those players, ate their cap. Okay. Then we paid Aaron Donald, made him the highest paid defensive player at the time, right? They said, oh, we're not gonna have money to pay anybody else. This team is gonna be done, whatever, right? We went and got Aqib Talib, gave him a nice little contract, gave Ndamukong Suh a nice little contract, and we were supposed to fall apart. Playoff appearance, Super Bowl appearance, then above 500, we were 1 game out of it. Under the current format, we would have been back in the playoffs that year. But so we shed all that, a bunch of dead cap space. Then we got rid of our quarterback. Now, even before we got rid of our quarterback, we extended Andrew Whitworth, extended Leonard Floyd, extended Robert Woods, extended Cooper Kupp. Didn't have any of that money. We traded away 2 draft picks to go get Jalen Ramsey. And we weren't going to have money to pay him. Paid him. He's signed up for 5 more years with us. Highest paid corner in the league. Yeah. And then we traded away, 2-3 picks to get Matthew Stafford and 8 some cap for Jared Goff. And this is, 4 or 5 years running. People saying, oh, well, the Rams clock is running out. It's running out. We just traded, 2 more picks, a second and a third to get Vaughn. We're running out. You have to show me the evidence for when. When is it supposed to happen? And like I was talking with Mike earlier, I said, eventually for every team, I don't care how good you are at doing business. I don't care how good. Eventually the bill comes due for everybody. We've never seen it in the history of sports where a team just got good and they just stayed good forever. Like it doesn't even happen, right? Mm-hmm. And you think about even outside of football, you think about some of the best dynasties, best franchises in the history of sports. You know, the Yankees' incredible run, even the Dallas Cowboys through the 90s. We're talking Chicago Bulls, right, through the Jordan years, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, the bill comes due. And it doesn't matter if you've made the right moves or the wrong moves. And everybody keeps saying that the Rams are, you know, they're living dangerously, but they're living dangerously with success.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, they're just flying by the seat of their pants. They can't be, because they've had sustained success for so long. They have the right people in the front office. They have the right person coaching the team. They have the right kind of people on the team. They're getting success. Do they have the Super Bowl ring? No, they won't. But like, how many teams have a Super Bowl ring? You know what I mean? Like in the last 10 years.
It's nice to see a back office all be on the same page. You know, you look, we talked about Miami earlier in the episode and the civil war that's going on there. And then you have a team like the Los Angeles Rams who has their crap together. And Adrian, I really love how you broke that down, because there's a narrative out there. I'm pretty sure you know what it is, that they don't like their draft picks. They don't want to build for the future, but you guys keep finding a way, and you keep finding a way. And you mentioned like how it's been the last 5 years. You guys had a Super Bowl appearance, you know what I mean? And traded quarterbacks. I mean, oh my gosh, some franchises would take 5 years just to recuperate from that, yet alone be in a relevant conversation. So no, that's awesome.
Well, I got one thing. I got one thing on this, y'all. Is like Les Need is doing this GMing thing like he's playing Madden, except for the clear cat button. I think he might have that under his desk somewhere. But he's I mean, but think about this, right? If we think about what Soup just said, right? You got Leonard Floyd, you got the best defensive player in football, Aaron Donald, in the middle. And then you got Von Miller, who came back this year and has been rated a top 6, top 7 pass rusher this year, right? So you cannot, that's the best pass rush, right? They have the best offense. You have the best corner, unquestionably, right? You got Jalen Ramsey, you got Aaron Donald, you got Leonard Floyd, you got Von Miller. So to answer the question, yes, I believe he does, because what pass rush does is give your corners less time that they have to cover. So Rochelle is developing. I think he's going to be a dog in the future. Absolutely. And I think they have to turn players like that, the young players they do have, into dogs in the future. So I absolutely think that they have to be the Super Bowl favorite now, right? And me and Soup did talk about this. Like, if they don't win the Super Bowl eventually in this time, Aaron Donald's prime, Von Miller did till end of his career, he's kind of taken on the DeMarcus Ware role when he was in Denver, and Jalen Ramsey's prime. Like, if they don't win the Super Bowl, then we'll go back and look and say, hey, this is all for naught. But they have been winning, right? So if that doesn't translate to playoff success, and realistically, Von Miller's had more playoff success than any person they have on their roster. He's a Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, right? So I feel like that is something that locker room absolutely could use. And I just would not want to be the Colts, because Thursday, Von's going to play his ankle. I think he could have went this weekend. The chatter was that this trade was being talked about a week ago, and they pulled the trigger, today. But I think he probably could have went yesterday, realistically, because I saw him dancing on his Halloween party yesterday. So if you could be dancing in a costume, you could probably push off except for Jameis, because that man that's a little different. But I feel like the Titans they're gonna prove a point. I think the Titans are gonna have a tough time scoring 10 points, and Von Miller's probably gonna come in there and get a sack his first game. But they're definitely loading up. As the team now, like, who do you think could beat them in the playoffs? I can't think of one team.
Yeah, I mean, the argument that we're hearing right now, right, is going to be the Arizona Cardinals that are going to be our downfall. And to that, I say we'll see. Like, we talked about it episodes ago, right? I got to give the Cardinals their flowers. They're playing good ball, right? Murray's playing outside of his mind. He's doing miraculous stuff. They've got a host of talented people there. But them losing J.J. Watt was quietly one of their best, pass rushers that they had. Big locker room guy. So he's done. He shut him down for the rest of the season. Kyla Murray, even though he's not officially on the injury report, you look at him, he is starting to take those hits. He's getting banged up, and it's about to get colder. It's about to get longer into the season. He's going to take some more hits and stuff like that. Is his style of play, right? Which is evade the rush until the play breaks down and one of your guys can get open. Is that style of play going to last? I mean, I do think that there are some teams that are going to just give them problems. I think even as much as I hate the Dallas Cowboys, I think the Dallas Cowboys present an interesting problem for them because they have a very aggressive pass rush with Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons flying all over the place, Tank Lawrence out there as well, right? They have Trayvon Diggs, who is just an interception machine right there. And we talked about, for every interception he gets cooked, but it doesn't matter. He takes the ball away, right? Yeah. Dak is playing some of the best ball of his life. Zeke seems to have found a second win. Tony Pollard's doing well, and this is with them reconstructing the line. So I do think that they present an interesting matchup for them. AFC wise, right? I think the Bills are another team. It's a very stout defense. You have another mobile quarterback that can move around, that has a big cannon of an arm. He's worked on his accuracy. Stephon Diggs, nobody has proven that they can really cover him this season. And they're finding different ways to win. They're not just solely relying on his arm. So I do think there are a few teams in this league that can present an issue for them. But I do think as it stands right now today, and we got to see what Vaughn does on the field, right? Because we know his accolades, but we got to actually see how he meshes with the team and how he actually shows up. And, hopefully he'll stay healthy. I don't think it's going to be that issue with him, but hopefully he stays healthy. I think the Rams are in the driver's seat, but there are still so many things. As good as this roster is on paper, right? Mm-hmm. Matthew Stafford has shown in the last few weeks, he still hasn't made it all the way through the playbook. This team is still a team that's getting used to each other. And I think what you're seeing with them is kind of what we saw with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers last year, right? Like, we saw the potential, we saw the names, the talent is obviously there, but they just couldn't put everything together simultaneously. Like, the offense would have a really good game and the defense would have a really good game, but we couldn't put up a complete game together. This last Sunday against the Texans, granted, it was against the Texans, is one of the first times this season where we've seen this offense get off to a hot start and the defense complement them as well. Yeah. Now that you can say whatever you want to say about the fourth quarter, but they pulled the first string completely out the game, and it was second string playing. So, if David Culley and the Texans want to celebrate what they did in the fourth quarter, more power to them. If they can put that against a quality opponent, which I still think, even without Derrick Henry, I think the Titans are a quality opponent. We've got the Titans, and if I'm not mistaken, we got the 49ers, who Kyle Shanahan, say whatever you want to say about that team. He's had McVay's number the past 2 seasons in a row. We've got those back-to-back before we get to the bye. Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot about what this team is and how far they can go. They should handle those teams. They should win. I'm not saying they should beat them, whoop their ass like they did the Texans. But if they can win those games, I think, all right, now we really need to seriously be considering Super Bowl championship for this team. But it's important for them not to read their own press clippings. It's important for them not to buy into their own hype and really just take it one game at a time. I want a championship, like we talked about earlier. We're wasting Aaron Donald prime years. We're wasting Jalen Ramsey prime years. But ultimately, as a fan that's been, and Doug, you would know something about it. You've come from a desolate franchise. This is some of the best Rams football that I've had the pleasure of watching. Mm-hmm. Because this team since 2017 has been a product that I can be proud of. Yeah. And yes, I'm going to be pissed if we don't win the Super Bowl, especially because it's in SoFi. I want it bad. But I can't really say that what we're doing isn't working. Yes, we're not getting the result that we want because everybody wants a championship, but what we're doing is working. We're putting a winning product on the field and a competitive product year after year in spite of what everybody else says. I don't think there's too many people that can want for much more. And I know plenty of fan bases out there that would kill to be in the Rams position today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then our final talking point for the night, I'll touch on this real quickly. And then Mike, you want to touch up on it. And then Adrian, you go ahead and finish off the show. Question of the night. Now they still lost, but Justin Fields did ball out. He played some pretty dang good football. So question of the night to finish off the show. Here it is. Is Justin Fields turning the corner? Is this the point of the season where, obviously they have a lot of issues with Matt Nagy and play calling, and Justin Fields, Lord have mercy, he is running for his life. But is this the point? Is Justin Fields going to get better from here? I'm going to kick this one off. I like Justin Fields. And I know we've talked about on the show before, Ohio State quarterbacks, they don't always turn out to be good. Matter of fact, I can't think of the last time an Ohio State quarterback was good. But I think Justin Fields changes that. But I will say he seemed different this game. He had more pep in his step. Last week when they lost, my man was crying on the field. Literally. To see someone broken and to come back from that shows character, man. And And I appreciate that about someone like that. I really appreciate that about Justin Fields. Now, will Nagy probably make it past this year? Nah, I don't think so. And I think they need a draft super duper heavy for O-line if they want to, kind of do something for the team, do something for the quarterback, let him properly develop. But I think they're heading in the right directions. They not only shocked me this last offseason by drafting him and some other good players, but I'm really excited to take and see what they do in the future with this young man. Overall, I'm going to say yes. Mike, what's your take on it?
Yeah, man. I think two things, right? This game showed more about how much of a mess Matt Nagy is because it's the second week he hasn't played. Justin Fields looking more confident, not under Matt Nagy's play calling. But I think the coach they had filling in calling the plays absolutely called a pretty decent game considering the talent they have. He had 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 4 times because their line is questionable. But Justin Fields also had 10 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. That's what you want to do with Justin Fields, right? He's a quarterback that isn't going to take a bunch of hits. And typically when he's running, he gets out of bounds. He has a cannon. There's literally not a field on the throw he can't make. I just think Matt Nagy's offense is so stupid that it's kind of throwing his whole team off, right? But I think he kind of made some strides. And I think this was an absolute condemnation. Again, they did lose, but they looked pretty competitive at times, and Justin Fields was making the right decisions. I don't know if they pared the playbook down, whoever was calling the plays needs to keep doing that the rest of the year. But I feel like this is a game he could definitely build on for the rest of the season and going into the offseason.
Love it. Adrian, what are your thoughts, sir?
I think it's too early to say if he's turning the corner or not. I think he had a good game. And like Mike said, like you said, you're seeing some things out of him that you want to see in your rookie quarterback. But as we know in the NFL, it's a week-to-week league. If he can continue to build on what he did Sunday, then I'm willing to believe that he's turned the corner. I don't think so. I think they had, some really good play calling. I think he didn't get any help from his defense at all in this game because they had this game and they allowed San Francisco to get back into it. Jimmy Garoppolo probably had one of his best performances as a 49er on Sunday, and really putting the ball in his hands, moving around, making throws, even running some. Like I said, I liked what I saw from Justin Fields. I think he's unquestionably a leader on his team. I think he's winning the hearts of the locker room there. But we keep saying that narrative about the Ohio State quarterbacks. It exists for a reason, and it's true until proven otherwise. And unfortunately for Justin Fields, if the front office doesn't get him somebody that's either going to cater to what his specific skill set is, get him a line that'll help keep him upright so he's not running for his life, because he's not Russell Wilson, right? I think Russell Wilson is probably one of the greatest magicians that we've seen at the quarterback position in terms of not having an offensive line and being able to run. But even Russ, right, that's not sustainable for as many years as it's been going on.
Yeah.
So in his older age, he can't do it like he used to do. So that's a finite window of time that he has to be able to play like that. But they got to get him a line. They've got to get him a solid running game, and they have to get him more weapons than just Allen Robinson and Cole Kmet. He needs a few more threats to help stretch the field and make defenses respect more than just one or two guys. And like I said, and they're going to need some complementary things. If they don't get the person in place head coach wise, and I think Ryan Pace, their GM, needs to go as well. I think both him and Nagy need to be out the door. If they cannot get that front office, I think we're going to watch a really talented player that should be part of this next generation of great quarterbacks. I think he's going to get snuffed out early, not because of anything that was wrong with him, but because he just landed in a dysfunctional spot. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have enough talent to overcome dysfunction. And that's not a knock on Justin Fields. There's very few quarterbacks that come into this league that have the talent to overcome dysfunctional organizations. And some of them just don't last. Like, I think the last quarterback that I saw that came into this league that was strong enough to overcome dysfunction, his name is Andrew Luck. He's no longer in the league.
Yeah. True. Hey, if you can't say amen, say ouch. Bears fans, if you're watching this, please don't be too emotional, but go down below in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. You agree with Adrian? Do you agree with us? Let us know what you think. Maybe you agree, disagree, maybe somewhere in the middle. Comment below.
Doug, there was just because we're talking about the Bears, there was actually a report that's come out now that the deal with the Rams and the Broncos is done, is that the Rams actually initially called about Khalil Mack last week, and wanted to pair Khalil Mack with Aaron Donald, but seeing as the Bears weren't having that, and Khalil Mack ended up going on IR last week. That caused them to kind of steer away from that conversation and pursue Von Miller. But man, that would have been a thing to see, right? Khalil Mack sitting with Aaron Donald. Honestly, I think that's something that should have happened a long time ago. It would have happened a long time ago if the Raiders weren't scared of the Rams' initial offer, because the Rams actually made an offer for Khalil Mack when the same year that the Bears did. Yeah. The only reason why the Raiders ended up taking the Bears because they were confident that the Bears were going to be garbage and they were going to get a higher end first round pick. But joke's on them. The Bears ended up going to, I think, what was it, divisional round that year? Yeah. So they ended up getting a pick that was like 2 in front of the ones that the Rams offered anyway.
Yeah. Oh man, they should have took it, man. That would be, dude. Aaron Donald, man, and Khalil Mack.
They took it just so I could have a Khalil Mack jersey right now.
Man, that would be fire, man. That's like, please forgive me. Was it Fearsome Foursome? Is that what they used to call it?
Yeah, man.
Back and then I watched that NFL. What do they call it? NFL? Go over the stories and stuff like that, man.
I can't even remember. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of the program right now. But
NFL Films or something like that.
NFL Films.
Deacon Jones, man, like those 4 guys, man. I just know Deacon Jones. Shout out to Eatonville here in Orlando, man. He's from
Demon Deacon, bro. Like, and I think quietly, right? I think the Rams have kind of put together. I think they're putting together the modern version of the Fearsome Foursome with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. I know people don't want to put Leonard Floyd in that conversation, but go look at my man's numbers from last year. Look at how he's playing this year. And Jalen Ramsey completes that Fearsome Foursome because, yes, he's a corner, but he's not playing like one. This man is out here playing a pseudo linebacker and hitting like one too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, hey, man, listen, man, when I'll say this, man, if we want to talk military, man, when the infantry troops are out there in the field, man, they got people up in the sky looking above, man, and they all work together and complement each other, man. So Leonard Floyd, man, he plays he plays a very pivotal part to that defense. You know what I mean? He's a locker room leader and somebody who the Rams are very blessed to take and have. So anywho, but man, Adrian, thank you so much for stopping on the show. Mike had to leave a little bit earlier, but Mike, thank you so much for stopping on the show as well too. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, man. We're going on, was it 20 months, like 19, 20 months of being on this show. So just over a year and a half, man. And it's been such a blast, man, to present NFL news to you guys, man. Lots and lots of fun, man. So got a lot of fun things rolling out over the next couple months. But anywho, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to go ahead, donate, information is down below. Got the Cash App, Venmo, all that good stuff. And you guys be safe. Be safe. God bless you. Jesus love you. And we love you too. Have a good night. Peace.
Peace.